I figured I should just start the recording and stop procrastinating doing this video at last. Hello, my name is Kay, you can call me that, and I'm going to be talking about Book 2 of Malazan, Book of the Fallen. This is Deadhouse Gates. I'm going to be going pretty in-depth into this book, discussing everything that happens from beginning to end, at least everything that I can think to bring up in the time that I'm going to be recording this. Um, one drawback of kind of just talking is that I will forget to bring some things up. But also in a series like this, especially in these books, there is just so many things going on to talk about that any one of the things that I may touch on today could be an entire own topic, essay, video, what have you, where you dive very deep into one of these things. But this is going to be a very broad overview. So I would have made a video. I should say that I would have made a video on the first book, but I didn't really think to do that in the Malazan series. I may do that at some point. Perhaps I'll go back, reread it, and kind of give my thoughts on it then. But I finished reading Deadhouse Gates about a month ago, and I knew immediately that I wanted to talk about it with someone. I had to. But no one in the real world wanted to talk about it. And I was scared of going online and finding some kind of spoiler for the series because it's a 10-book series. So I resolved to kind of talk about it in this isolated sphere that is me and my webcam. But anyways, let's just kind of get into talking about the book. So I think it's important to bring up that this is a Malazan book. This is a Malazan book, Book of the Fallen? Malazan Book of the Fallen. And this is a very intimidating, big, scary series that there is a lot of big, scary thoughts said about. If you're online, you'll hear about Malazan Book of the Fallen, like it's, you bring it up and the response is either like, what are you talking about? What is that? Or, oh my God, is that the super long series that makes no sense and you read, 5,000, you can read like the entire series and not know what's happening? Yeah, and you're like, yeah, it's that one. That's it. So this certainly is a series that comes with a lot of baggage, for sure. And I'll admit that part of that allure is what drew me to the series and wanting to read it. I would like to say that kind of the way I approach this discussion and a lot of discussions that I may have in the future, or that I've had in the past, I believe, on this channel with the 2 videos I have a year ago about Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, is that it's going to be very meandering. And I'm not really capable of, I am a little bit, but I'm not too capable of talking about the series without talking about kind of what it means to me and my personal life a little bit and how I relate to this. So if that's not something you're particularly interested in and you're just interested in the books, then that's okay. But what's interesting to me is kind of how I relate to these things and what I find in them of value. So that's worth bringing up. And I first, I started Malazan Book of the Fallen, Gardens of the Moon, which is the first book. I started Gardens of the Moon during earlier summer of this year, January, February, March, April, May, June, and I believe, or no, it would be like late June, early July. I was on a plane, and I knew that I was going to be going on an overseas trip soon, and I had been wanting to start Malazan Book of the Fallen because I just heard so much about it, and I was like, I felt like a little bit of like I have something to prove to myself, I guess, that I'm gonna read this like super hard series, and it's gonna, I'm gonna be able to brag about that to who? No one, because no one in my real life knows who this is or what the series is. But I guess it'll mean something to me that I will have read through it um, and comprehended some of it, if that makes sense. Well, I read through Gardens of the Moon, and I didn't really. I read a. I'm stealing this from a Reddit thread, but there was a comment there that kind of encapsulated my thoughts on it. I saw it so long ago, I'm afraid I can't give credit off the cuff here, but the comment was, when I read Gardens of the Moon, I wasn't really sure what was going on, but it was very cool, and I wanted more of it. And that's kind of what I would say. I mean, in the moment, I kind of knew what was going on a little bit. Like, okay, we've got the Malazan Empire. We've got, I don't know quite how to pronounce his name. That's going to be a running theme with names. Ganos Perrin, I believe, who, like, died, but didn't, and, he was at the gates of Hood, and Opan was there, and there's a sword and chance and whatever, and blood going into the blood of a hellhound, or one of the Hounds of Shadow. And then in Darujistan, you have Cole and what's their names? Kruppa, I think it's pronounced, and Murillo and Crocus and all that, and they're trying to get Cole reinstated back on the Darujistan Council, and that kind of, but that like ties back into other things that are going on with like assassinations, and there's so many weaving things, and then you've got like Dujek One Arm and the Siege of Pale, where whooping the microphone there, and Tattersail, and I can just start naming shit. But anyways, a lot of things happened in Gardens of the Moon, and I didn't really know what was going on. But I was super down for it, and it was really cool. And there's like some fight with like Raced, who's this Jaga tyrant, and he destroys like 4 dragons or something. I don't know. I don't remember if he destroys them or just basically fucks them up so bad they run away. I don't quite recall. And fights with like demons. It just, a lot of stuff happened, and I remember a lot of it, but I guess I don't quite grasp the significance of a lot of it until I'm reading later in the series. But I feel like that's going to be the case for a lot going on in this series, that you don't quite know how important something is until later, even like these small little instances. But anyways, I'm getting away from myself. I was talking about, I don't know what I was talking about, but let's get into Deadhouse Gate specifically. All right, I was kind of talking about the reputation of Malazan Book of the Fallen. I made it through Gardens of the Moon, and I was like, this is pretty cool. I got the second book, Deadhouse Gates, off of Amazon. I was not able to find a local seller for it, unfortunately. Oh wait, no, for this I actually got this one for like $4 at a half price books, and I read, and it took me like a month to read this thing, or I think it was about a month, off and on. So for bang for buck, dollar for hour of entertainment, Malazan Book of the Fallen seems to be doing pretty well. Anyways, I made it to Deadhouse Gates, and I think this kind of got me. This is it. Now I'm finishing the series. That's a bold statement, I think, for just having read the second book. But I'm going through the whole damn thing. Because some of the whole book is this amazing journey, that there is One thing that I feel I should mention is that the first book is very disjointed. Okay, I think everyone knows this a little bit. That's read through Malazan. The first book is all over the place. I'm no stranger to this. I read Dark Tower. I like Dark Tower. And the first book in Dark Tower, it's been a while, but I'm gonna say it's not very good. I don't remember it being very good. Maybe if I reread it, I'll have a new appreciation for it. But as a first time reader, I didn't think it was very good. But I was also in like 8th grade or something. I don't know. It was a long time ago. But anyways, the first book, Gardens of the Moon, all over the place. I think Steven Erikson, it was originally a screenplay, and he managed to get it sold as like a book or something like that. And so it's adapted to a book, and I think the writing it's still, I would say it's good. It's a good book. I like it. It's just all over the place. It's just like there's so many points of view characters. It does not guide you into what's kind of going on. You really have to be thinking about what you're reading and doing your best to kind of follow along. So with Gardens of the Moon, it's all over the place. But with Deadhouse Gates, you can definitely tell that I think there's like a 9-year gap between him writing the first book and the second. But you can tell that he got much better, I think, at kind of portraying what was happening and I don't want to say like guiding the reader and like holding their hand, because that is still something that he doesn't really do. But he will, I guess, I wouldn't say hand-holding, but he's guiding, I guess. He's better at guiding the reader, foreshadowing some things, and just overall better at, like, helping things make sense, and, like, helping you get to the conclusion of what's going on and the meaning of things. There are a few moments where things are spelled out pretty explicitly, like this is what's happening in Deadhouse Gates, and that's welcome, I think. It's a long book. It's like 836 pages, at least my copy, including the epilogue, and that's a lot of pages to not know what's going on. Gardens of the Moon was around 500 or 600, which is still a lot of pages to not know what's going on. But in terms of knowing what's going on, there's like a dubious amount of that in Gardens of the Moon. Anyways, it's a lot. You have a much better idea of what's going on in Deadhouse Gates. I feel like I'm getting trapped in this topic. I'm going to move it on a little bit. I'm just going to like cold, hard segue into reading one of my favorite like little passages in Gardens of the Moon, or not Gardens of the Moon, Deadhouse Gates, at like the beginning of each chapter, where they have he has the like, sometimes it's an excerpt from like a historian or a quote from someone. This is like my favorite one of those throughout the whole book, and bear with me here. Coltane rattles slow across the burning land. The wind howls through the bones of his hate-ridden command. Coltane leads a chain of dogs, ever snapping at his hand. Coltane's fist bleeds the journey home along rivers of red-soaked sand. His train howls through his bones in spiteful reprimand. Coltane leads a chain of dogs, ever snapping at his hand. God, I love that so much. The imagery of the chain of dogs comes through a lot, and to me it is this beautiful sequence of words. As Coltane is like trying to, it's all over the place. I can't fucking conceive the book is, I feel like the book being so all over the place and kind of the series kind of being all over the place does not invite me to be particularly coherent in my explanation of why I like the book so much. So I'm sure those of you who have read it may understand what I'm kind of going through a little bit. In that I'm all over the place, and there's so much I want to talk about that it's all just kind of bubbling forth at once. So let's try to isolate this a little more. So what's like the book about? I already prefaced this by saying I'm going to spoil everything, so I don't really need to talk about what the book's about. So actually, I feel like I can kind of jump all over the place. All right, so let's look at my notes here. I kind of organize things into groups. We have different, like, more or less, we have like different groups of characters that we follow throughout Deadhouse Gates. We're just going to kind of start with a group and kind of segue into other things, and we'll see what comes up. So in our first group, we have, help me with the pronunciations. Apologies to my, those of you who are really into the Malazan series. We have Bowden, Felison, Hiboric, Leomin, and the Toblakai. This is kind of what I'm casting as one group, although Leomin and Toblakai do not come until much later in the story, and there's also additional people in this group over the series as it goes, and don't worry about it. We're going to touch on those characters too. So this is the group of characters: Bowden, Felison, who's the sister to Gano's parent. She's a parent. Felison, and Hiboric. These three are who we open the book with. Oh God, it's all coming back to me. In this absolutely fucking brutal opening sequence. It's so amazingly violent and graphic. And I am not like just smiling for the sake of yay violence. I'm just looking back on it in like I remember it so clearly because it is so shocking. One thing that the Malazan Empire does is they round up the nobles and they kind of like publicly execute a bunch of them, or like what the Malazan Empire has been doing under Empress Lysine is that they like round up the nobles and then they fucking execute them or some shit. Like a lot of them get executed, I believe, and then a lot of them were rounded up in chains, imprisoned in chains, and then marched through the Malaz city streets to slave ships where they're shipped off to mine to the Odataro. Excuse me, just clipped my fucking earring there. To the Odataro mines in the like near the Seven Cities continent. It's not quite on like the continent itself. It's like a little island just northeast of it. And they like work in these Odataro mines, and this opening scene is Felison, Hiboric, and Bowden in this line of nobles and prisoners. Hiboric being the I believe he's there. He has no arms. He's no hands. He's just got stubs there. And he's covered in these tattoos because he is we find out later, he's an ex-priest of Finner or whatever. And that shit goes places I don't understand. Things happen with that. But anyways, Felison is just a noble of House Perrin. And we find out her sister, who I am blanking on the name of, and it does not appear to be on my list, but her sister, I think she's the youngest sister. Perrin is the oldest okay, so there's like 3 siblings, I think. There's Perrin, who's the oldest, some girl who's the middle child, and then Felison, who's the youngest. I think that's how it is. But anyways, and we find out that the Perrin middle sibling, is the new adjunct to the Empress because Lorne ate shit in Darujistan. And Bowden is just some like real fucking nasty criminal. We think in the moment, but I said we could talk about spoilers. We find out later he's a Talon, and we find out the significance of that a little bit, or not quite, but like we know that that's like weird. That's like they're like like they had a civil war with like the Claw. I think the Imperial Claws. I was talking about this opening scene where, anyways, we all know what happens. Bowden decapitates a woman with the chains of the the chains. Actually, chains. Chain of dogs. They're in chains. What are they? Prisoners, nobles. They're in chains, being loaded onto that ship. And like the chain of dogs comes up later, so I guess there's kind of this chain motif. Now that I think about it, I don't quite know if that being a prisoner, right? Being held captive to your circumstance. Coltane, getting a little bit ahead of myself, but Coltane, he's bound by duty to keep all these damn refugees alive, and they fucking hate him. So many of them hate him, and yet they have this reverence for him. He had the chain of dogs. A dog can be loyal, but it can also act up and bite its master, I guess. Biting his hand. A chain of dogs ever snapping at his hand. There's something there, I'm sure, but maybe I'm grasping at straws, and we have other things to get to kind of cover. So that's kind of like our introductory group, and we follow these people into the Ototaro prison, where I feel like this is a contentious part of the book, and I'm going to talk about it. Felicin using her body, selling herself to kind of like provide for herself and for Hiboric and Bowden. I don't quite know if she's providing for Bowden as much. I don't remember. I think but she's like selling herself to, I think I wrote the guy's name, but he's like the prison guy. I don't know. He's in the Dramatis Personae as just like a criminal leader. And by the way, must I say, I love the Dramatis Personae. I wish more books had the Dramatis Personae. If only because it's just like a cool thing to have in your book. I think it's just like a neat... is it Bolt? Beneth, the crime lord. Bolt is a different guy, I think. Yeah, I remember who Bolt is now. But Beneth, the crime lord, on the Ototaro mine island, I can't remember the name of, she basically becomes like his main hoe for a while. And this is like especially graphic, I suppose, or like striking, because she's like 15, 16. It's uncomfortable. It's not... I felt very uncomfortable reading some of those passages, and there's excuse me, and there is I would say that it is graphic. It's I don't feel like Erickson is careless with his prose. I don't think that he's like he describes it very because there are lines where it's describing sexual acts involving Felicin, which happens a couple times throughout the story with Beneth and with, I have to keep looking at my fucking list, Bowden. There's a scene with Bowden where there's like some strange sex stuff going on there with a very like she's fucking a child and even if she wasn't a child, this situation is still fucked up. Um, it never feels like Erickson is overly titillating, I guess. I don't know. I can't think of a way to say it, but it doesn't feel like he's just doing this for shock value. It's just, it feels like it's a terrible thing, and it's a terrible thing that's happening, if that kind of makes sense. Because it's a terrible thing happening because sometimes terrible things happen, and you're in terrible situations, and you do terrible things, and terrible things happen to you. And this is a terrible world that they live in. I know I'm not going to get into the grimdark discussion because I know that is a discussion, apparently, in the Malazan sphere. I will not get into that discussion. But there are terrible things that happen in this world. It is a world racked with war and crime and a goddamn empire, okay? And dragons and Talani Mas and all manner of terrible things. And in the real world, which I dubiously less terrible than the Malazan world, terrible things still happen. So I think I guess this is branching. This might be branching a little bit too much into like what's the value of having characters go through terrible things when you can just have them not. But that might be getting a little beyond the scope of what I want to talk about, and I fear I might get trapped in that. But I think, I guess we'll just say I think there is a value to having characters go through terrible situations, and go through them and see how they cope with this, because I guess terrible things happen in the real world, and if you're a reader that has had terrible things happen to you, you may read them going through a terrible thing and kind of identify with that and see their process, and you may see a little bit of yourself there. Now, hopefully that is not the case with anything involving Fellison. I hope that, you don't relate too much to a lot of things that happen to her. But that's kind of I hope that something in there was close to a coherent point, because I didn't expect to be going on that today. Fellison. Right, she kind of like, oh god, like she becomes Shaik, or something like Shaik, Shaik Reborn, and then like question mark, like, raise eyebrow. I can't quite do that, I guess, but Shaik Reborn. We'll touch on that later, maybe. I guess there's a lot to kind of go through there. For now, I kind of want to talk about Hipporic. All right, they eventually they like get out of the mine and they travel through the desert for a few hundred pages, because that's always fun. And I actually think it is a fun journey through the desert. But anyways, Hipporic Light Touch is a priest of Finner, or an ex-priest of Finner. He's neglected his faith or refused it for reasons that I don't think are touched on in the book. I'm not sure. I don't know if I don't think I said this at the beginning. I'm currently like halfway through Memories of Ice. I finished Deadhouse Gates and I fucking started right on Memories of Ice. I don't think I waited a day. So I won't say it's all blur, because there's definitely like it's pretty good at the way the books are set up. Memories of Ice is in like an entirely different place. I'm not, by the way, if you haven't read Memories of Ice, I'm not going to talk about Memories of Ice, but I'm just saying that to say it happened. I read Deadhouse Gates a long time ago, and I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing what happened in each book. But some things, Entropy, I have forgotten. But for the most part, I feel like I kind of have things on point. But anyways, I digress. Haborik is this ex-priest of Finner, and he kind of acts like a guiding force to Felison, or at least he kind of tries to might be strong. I don't think he really wants to do it. I think he just feels like he has to, because you can't just watch a young person like that destroy their life and make so many terrible decisions. Even if the decisions she makes are born of distress and she thinks it's for the best, I can understand how you look at that and want to offer advice and want to have them not go through that. So I understand that kind of relationship there he has with Felison, which later in the book morphs into like Felison just kind of keeping him around. I think there's a line, I don't remember who says it, maybe Haborik, where it's just like, I'm your conscience. Like Haborik kind of acts like a conscience, and then Haborik says like, well, then you're really fucked. If I'm your conscience, then we're screwed. That kind of thing. Then we're gonna go to some real dark places. After Felison becomes Shaik, or Shaik Reborn, or whatever kind of happens there. So that's what's happening with Haborik. Eventually he develops like ghost hands. I feel like I need to mention the boar god Finner being summoned because of Haborik touching his like tattoo chest and opening a key to the Warren or something. I don't know what that's about. There are some moments in this book, and there were a lot. I had this a lot in Gardens of the Moon. I had it less so in Deadhouse Gates, but there were still moments where I'm reading, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. I can't wrap my head around this. I don't think I'm supposed to really know what's going on, and if I am supposed to know what's going on, I hope it's explained again later. And this was one of those moments. Something about like a giant hoof coming down and running away. I don't know if it's brought up. It never goes anywhere. I imagine this becomes some important shit in later books, but yeah, we're just gonna say that happened, and I want to know what's up with that, and it's confusing. Cool though, very cool. Common theme with Malazan. Don't know what's happening, but it's very cool. And Bowden, talk a little bit about Bowden. Talon, what a guy. What a strange person. He is a Talon who is, as far as we are aware, kind of paid for or told by the adjunct to watch over Felison. And then Felison, when she finds this out, says, I don't want you, go away. And I think Bowden literally just says, all right, and then walks away into the desert. And then he comes back later and dies. He dies in a fire. Or he doesn't die in the fire. He dies later as a result of the fire burns because he thought he was immune to fire because of what happened in the Warren. And he dies in Felison's arms in her lap, and the armor that she had been wearing was pierced by that kind of devastating blow. And she just like completely crumples. So one thing actually I want to bring up is this theme of rebirth and being reborn, and that Raraku, I know that can't be the right pronunciation. It can't be Raraku, but I'm going to go with it. Raraku kind of like going through this desert, the holy desert Raraku, changes you, and it makes you into an entirely new person. You are reborn when you go through Rabaku, because of what happens to you, and it goes through like your mind, I guess. And like this is something I find absolutely fascinating in this book. This is like a theme that I find really, really interesting, because normally we have like rebirth, this metaphor of rebirth, being heavily associated with water, specifically like the Christian baptism, and like that's being born again. So if you ever see a character going into like water, that's, there we go. We kind of know what's happening there. That's like a staple of metaphors. That doesn't happen with Rabaku, the Holy Desert. Ain't no one getting bathed in no damn water, outside of some situations like you're crawling through a miserable hole to a battlefield, which we'll get to a little later. It's this lack of water. It's I guess you can kind of draw it's this lack of water, if you want to kind of have it as a, I don't know, contrast that, or compare like going through a baptism changes you, this theme of like going through water, rebirth. It's this absolute lack of water. You can look at it that way. I don't. I just thought of that, and I guess that's a way to think of it. And there's probably some merit and interesting discussion that can happen there. But the way that I kind of think of it is it's this journey, it's this trip. It's like going through Rabaku is such an intense physical experience that you have no choice but to change, to adapt to it, and to grow stronger, and to find the depth of will that you did not know was there. That you didn't, like, when you have poured out every last drop of will and strength, you need to find more. And that's kind of what Rabaku does to you, because that sun is baking and you need more to drink. That's like how you get reborn in Rabaku. I think that's like a really interesting thing. I would need more time to have more to say on that. But I wanted to bring that up. Now, the next few characters we have are Leomin and the Toblakai. I just kind of wrote them down as a token because I feel like I need to bring them up. These feel like characters that'll come back later, and be important. We don't even get the Toblakai's name. I don't even know who that guy is. The Toblakai is just like his ethnicity or his race or whatever. He's just this huge dude who like swings a club around and beats the shit out of people. That's his thing. I feel like they're going to come back later. They're like the Guardians of Shaik, although they are the doubting Guardians of Shaik. Anyways, I want to get to the fun stuff. And when I say the fun stuff, I'm talking about Culp. Let's go, Culp. Next character. Poor Culp. I love this, like, kind of like whiny. I don't know about whiny, but he complains a lot. I love the mages. Like, all the mages we've met so far, I really like them. I dig all the mages we've met so far in the series. And Culp is definitely no exception. And the way that he goes out is damn miserable. Oh, God. Getting eaten alive by I don't know if it's a soul taken or a divers. Divers or a divers or something like oh fuck, diverse. Was it that obvious the whole time? Because the thing with the soul taken is that they can only change into like their soul form or something. They're like, they can shapeshift but only into one thing. And diverse can change into multiple things, so it's diverse, where they can change into soul at one, soul taken, one taken, diverse. I feel like I've been a fool. But wordplay, love it. That's good. I really like that. I like that a lot. Fuck, just keeps sinking in. But anyways, he gets like eaten by rats, and that's awful. Poor Culp. Oh god, I've got so many characters, and I do have to go. I do have to end this recording soon. Not soon, but like, time is subjective. Okay, so we'll just go on to the next one. Duiker? I think it's a Duiker. The royal historian. I find historians in this series extremely interesting in this how the Malazan Empire approaches history, how history is approached in these books is a very interesting thing going on there, because I am a history student. Not a good one, but I am a history student. And so I find history interesting, especially how history is kind of portrayed, and Duiker as kind of our royal historian through which we view everything, is a very interesting character. He is probably my favorite character in the book. At the beginning of the book, I didn't know what to think of this guy, but as it went on and on, I liked him more and more. And what happens to him at the end, man, that shit sunk with me, dude. That stuck with me. I don't remember specifically how they executed all of these soldiers. I can't remember the name of the things. Not Pormqual. It's the not the Wiccans, although mostly Wiccans. It's the tribes that they're fighting. The Whirlwind. Fuck. I can't remember what they're called, but the army. Anyways, they're like how the horrible method of execution and torture that they're subjected to. I can't quite remember specifically what it is, but it is this painful description to read and to think about, and to see this character that I love go through it. It hurts the soul. But some wacky shit happened with like some crystal being snapped against his chest on a necklace that should have gone to Coltane. That Lysine wanted to go to Coltane, but didn't. Duiker was wearing it, and like some, I can't remember what they're called, Baccaral, I think. Like the monkeys, they collected something off of Duiker. I don't know, bro. I think it's his soul. Is he coming back as like a golem? Don't answer that. But is he coming back as like a zombie? Are they putting him in a zombie? I don't know. I'm very interested to see where that goes. Although I have a feeling that is not getting followed up for a while. Right. Okay. I have to hurry up a bit because so much to cover and so little time. Unfortunately, I decided to do this right when I had like something to do in 20 minutes. But okay. So Culp, Duiker, Coltane. Coltane is absolutely an interesting character and is fascinating because he is a central character who's pivotal to the plot, who we never get a perspective chapter on. We never follow Coltane. We follow everyone around Coltane. And not everyone around Coltane. But we follow like Duiker around Coltane. And I think there might be one other perspective character in the chain of dogs, but I don't recall who. But we kind of just follow Duiker around, and we hear so much about Coltane. And he is this... One thing that comes up a lot in Malazan is these leaders that inspire you to to do what you don't think is possible, to do the impossible, to defy sense and self-importance because of their leadership and because they are driving you to be more, I suppose. They're not driving you. Coltane demands. Coltane, who was previously a Wiccan who rose up in rebellion against the Empire, is now here on the Empire's payroll, in service of the Empire, to lowering the seat, in service of the Empire, to fight the Whirlwind. And it becomes basically his mission throughout the book to get these fucking refugees to safety, to Aren, I believe is the city. And he drives them. He is a vicious taskmaster. We will march. We will continue to march every single day. There is no resting. We only do what is absolutely necessary, and then we do like nothing else. And he comes into conflict a couple times throughout the book with these nobles, Nethpara, or whatever. I don't know. I can't remember the other guys' names, but there's more. These nobles on the chain of dogs. And it is easy if these are the nobles that are common throughout the Empire, it is easy to see how the Empire can strike up hatred towards them and gain a lot of public will, public trust, I suppose, by rounding them up and killing them, executing 9/10 of them or whatever, which is an amazing detail. I love the tactics of the Empire to maintain supremacy and to continue its spread. I find that absolutely amazing. I want to know more about what they do, and that's some of the dirty work that the Whiskey Jack, what are they called? Bridge burners. That the bridge burners kind of do, but also it's touched on in Gardens of the Moon as well, and blah, 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 blah. But anyways, that's all very interesting. I want to know more about this Empire. I want to know more about Lysine. And I want to know, why are we being all up Imperial in this bitch? What's the driving motivator? I want to know why Lysine continues the Empire. I want to know more about this. Is the Empire just we continue to expand because that's what we do? How did this Empire come into being? What happened before, can I talk about it? Am I recalling? I think it's talked about in this book. Kellanved and Dancer, yeah, they ascended. And they became Cotillion and Shadowthrone. What happened? What about the emperors before them? What about, how did the Empire come into being? Empire, were there kingdoms before that? What happened? I want to know a lot more about all that stuff. And I have a feeling that, a lot of those questions may be answered. A lot of them may not. It's just a matter of finding out. I know there's a lot of other books in Malazan that's not just Tale of the Fallen, or Book of the Fallen. So it's just following along and seeing. Maybe I'll have to read some of those extra books. We'll see. But anyways, Coltane, right? So nobles, Nethpara, who I just talked about. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say about Coltane. Although there is a lot more to say there. Captain Lowell. I want to talk about an exchange between Captain Lowell or Corporal Lowell. No. Captain Lowell, Corporal List. Corporal List is interesting. All these characters are interesting. Can talk a lot more about all of them, but I gotta hurry. Okay, so Captain Lowell and Duiker have this conversation. I think we all know about this conversation. Have this conversation just after the horrific river crossing, where the river literally ran red 4 days. With the blood of refugees and soldiers, in this battle, and I can't remember the names of the battles, unfortunately. I'm not a military historian, and I don't keep those details. I can't tell you how any of these battles were fought, because a lot of that just fucking, I can't keep track of that in my head. I need a map. I need local maps for that. I need, like, to see the layout. I had to look up a lot of geographic terms to even know what's going on in some of these, and I just kind of accepted that for a lot of these battles I'm just gonna read through, try to follow along, but if I can't, it is what it is. I know in one of them, like, the dead are raised or something like that, a lot of spirits going on. There's a lot to talk about there. There's a lot to talk about everywhere. We're gonna keep going. So Captain Lowell, Duiker are having this conversation just after that horrific bloody crossing. And Captain Lowell asks Duiker, how do you keep going? How do you find the will to live? How do you, like... we all just witnessed this horrific fucking slaughter, massacre. That even the children are looking... They have these looks on them that children shouldn't have. And the children are dying quote is very good. I just want to bring that up before I forget. The children are dying. What good is all other expository blah 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 when those 3 words can sum it up quite well? Children are dying. They're having this conversation after that massacre. How do you keep going? Duiker says, sleight of hand. Captain Lowell is like, Is that it? Is that the answer? Like, what? And Duiker says, it'll have to do. Just really sticks with me. And then, like, right after that is the stuff with the sappers and Coltane accidentally demoting someone. Really fucking good stuff. That's an amazing scene. And, you know, there it is, the sleight of hand. We're moving quick. We're blazing through. Bolt, who is Coltane's uncle. Cool guy, kind of an asshole, but he's pretty funny. He does a good job of being Coltane's right-hand man. Things to say about him, I'd have to think more specific. We're moving on to Sormo and the other warlock. Sormo eats shit and dies at some point. I don't know. It might involve a horse. I don't remember. That's 2 other warlocks. Whatever, dude. We're just gonna keep going. These are very interesting characters with some interesting magic stuff going on that I think to speak on this topic in more detail, I'd have to reread some certain sections. So we're just gonna keep going. Let it be known that I think that they're very interesting. Sormo is a great character, and rip to a real one. And that shit with like ice, and I think there's like some Jaghut stuff involved. I don't know what happened there. I don't remember when it happened. I know something involving ice and Jaghuts happened, and I don't remember anything else. But it happened, and you know, I don't know. Jaghut, ice, very closely associated with each other. We're gonna keep moving. Okay. I find it interesting that I remember this. Yeah, the dog with the other dog in its mouth. Don't remember the dog's names. But like this like really thick, big fucking like hunting dog that the Wiccans have kind of adopts this like small prissy chihuahua, and they kind of have a good run around. That like comes up a couple times throughout the book, so it's fun to see that evolution. I just thought that was worth writing down. High-Fist Pormquol Erickson did a great job of writing a character that you hate very quickly and want to strangle. Fortunately, he dies in miserable pain. Okay, we got a lot more to cover. Okay, fuck, dude, I only have 10 more minutes. Callum Manala, Captain Kenneb, captain of the Ragstaller, Salk Elan, who we found out is Pearl. And Aptorian. There's a lot of characters to lump together, but Callum, there's a lot of stuff going on with him. Um, he's Claw. Oh yeah, him and Fiddler have decided to kill Lacine somehow. That involves like the Deadhouse gates that are in 7 cities. Manala is like Callum's lover? Question mark. Although he just doesn't know it yet. Um, and their confrontation between Callum and Empress Lacine at the end of the book is some wacky shit, and I don't know what's going on. Where she's like a raisin in a chair, because she's so dried up, she's like a dead body or something. In this super dark room, and I don't know what's going on there, but it's pretty cool. Captain Kenneb, who Callum saves and brings into like the Shadow Realm or the Imperial Warren. The captain of the Ragstopper, Captain of Ragstopper, is his official title and name. Who is an interesting character. I feel like I'm saying that word a lot. We're gonna keep moving. Salka Land, who is Pearl, an assassin. Oh God, I can't recall. Memory really is failing me. But Pearl, I don't remember if they're a claw or not. I think they are a claw. And it's kind of their mission to kill Callum, but give him a good fighting chance first, I guess. So he kind of like stabs Callum. I think he stabs Callum in the side while Callum is paralyzed, and then throws him off the boat. Throws him off Ragstopper. That was, and then Callum kind of like fucking works his way through all of the claw, a thinning of the ranks. In Malaz City, it is brutal. It's really cool, and it shows Callum as a complete badass who can't be stopped, and is like a 500 points GURPS character. If you understand what that means, you're really cool. And Aptorian. Okay. Whoa. Aptorian. How did Shaik get a demon? First off, what the fuck is a demon? I come from like Dungeons and Dragons and in Pathfinder, and like what a demon is pretty easily defined. It's like they come from the abyss or the hells or whatever it is in your setting, right? I don't know what a demon is. Is hell? I don't hear people refer to hell, right? Because hell isn't real. You go to Hood's realm or whatever when you die. So where are demons coming from? Are they just creatures from other warrens? Are they just monstrosities? Are they just really weird looking animals? Like, I don't know what a demon is. But Aptorian's a demon of Shadow Throne, of the Shadow Realm, I guess. I don't know. And saves like 300 kids or something, and then fashions takes a kid for her own. Wild stuff, but it's really cool. Checking time. Okay. Gustler, Stormy, Truth, there's just the seamen in general. Oh god, all that stuff in the Warren. They're like in a Warren, and there's like Talani masks that show up at some point, and they're like looking for something, but like nothing, it doesn't go anywhere. And at least in this book, I don't know. And like someone gets a cool sword. I don't remember the name. I think it may be Stormy. I don't know. One of the guys gets a cool sword in return for like something about pain and eternal torture. A Talani Mass's soul is released. I don't know. But they find like a boat in a warren because of some wild sorcerer off who's like tracking Culp and the seamen after yeah, they're in the warren. That's wild stuff. It's like a flooded warren. I assume we may never know what's up with that. Maybe we'll find out. I don't know. But these like three seamen are on the brink of like ascending. Oh right, one thing I want to talk about with Duiker is that he's on the brink of ascension, or like no, like the three men who got like hit with the flames of a dragon. They were on the brink of ascension, and then Coltane fucking punches one of them in the nose. He hurts his fist in the process, but like the seaman gets like his nose breaks, which is amazing, and all of the warlocks and all of the Wiccans are like looking at Coltane with this admiration because Coltane just hurt someone with his bare hands who's on the brink of ascension. And this idea that you can like ascend to a higher level, just a higher power level, I guess. And I know there's more going on with that with the deck of dragons and shit. Listen, this can only be so long. And the idea that you can kind of ascend because the concentrated like mind force of everyone on this continent being focused on this one guy. This one guy. Interesting stuff going on there. I don't know why they're on the brink of ascension. Being blasted with undead dragon fire, I guess will do that to you. Although it didn't work for Bauden. I don't know. They find a bunch of heads on a they heads on a boat, and we're gonna keep going. Absolar, Crocus, Fiddler. Man, I wish I got to this group sooner. I love these characters. Absolar is really interesting. I find the dynamic between her and Fiddler, her and Fiddler is interesting, but the one between her and Crocus is like really interesting. Crocus, by the way, is a different character. It's a different guy from book 1 to 2. I feel like Erickson kind of, thank God he did, but I feel like he changed who Crocus was a little bit in book 2, because in book 1 he's really, wow, I would not have been pleased if I had to stay with book 1 Crocus for 10 books, or however long Crocus lives. We'll see. But I would have not been particularly pleased, because he's just, you know, if he grows, then cool. But like if he stays at that level for so long, it can be aggravating, because he was so like 15 or something, and I think he's like 17 or 18, but just being like that dumb. I guess it's frustrating. And he keeps trying to like step in for Absolar and make decisions for her when she clearly does not need that. She doesn't want that. And it's kind of an odd dynamic they have going on, but it's cool. Absolar kind of holding like 3 people in her mind is a lot. Fiddler is a cool guy. I really like sappers. I don't know why, but I really like these sappers. All the sappers that I'm meeting, I love them. The ones in the chain of dogs are just amazing, and Fiddler's definitely great. I don't remember what happens to his broken fiddle. I don't know if we find that out. That may have been a thing talked about in this book. If he had it on him the whole time, I didn't remember. But I remember in the introduction to Gardens of the Moon, he had a broken fiddle with him, and I don't remember that shit at any point coming up again. But we're gonna keep moving to Icarium Mappo Trell. Oh my god. Oh jeez. Never mind. Duiker is not my favorite character. It's Icarium Mappo Trell. Who of these guys is my favorite? I don't know. But we're going to take these two and like say they're the number 1 slot. The friendship and the love that these two have for each other is goddamn heartbreaking. It hurts my like soul, especially with some of the decisions that happens. And he's coming soon. I'm getting picked up for an event, so I need to kind of wrap this up. But God, there's so much to talk about there, and I love them. and I want to know what's up with Ikariam's anger that he unleashes and this memory thing. And Mappo Trail is like bonded to Ikariam by some hooded motherfuckers. And I don't know what's going on with that, but it's really fucking cool to like contain his anger and follow him around, keep him in check. I don't know, it's cool. But like this friendship starts to override the duty that he has, and Iskarol Pust. Oh, I don't know. This feels like the cruppa of this book. We're gonna keep going. To just list a few things. The Azith House, Azith House, I don't know. The Path of Hands, and the Apocalypse. The Apocalypse is really, really cool. I like this continent-wide uprising, this ideology of this like disdain for the oppression. You know, there's a lot going on there that they're, you know, going through. Sorry, I'm like, I keep checking my phone. The Azith House and like the stars, and they're walking on a giant map, and there's a dragon flying, and there's a lot there. There's a lot everywhere. As I said, there's just so much in this book. I've been talking for like an hour now, and I feel like I have talked about nothing. I feel like I need 15 hours. I need more to go into any measure of respectable detail on any one of these subjects. But God, okay, right. This is just a big overview. The Path of Hands is really interesting. All these, we have this like theme of like, conglomeration? No, of where they're all going to one place, of a meeting, of a I don't know the word, but they're all being drawn there. Convergence, of a convergence of soul-taken endeavors to kind of, as far as I understand it, become the god of the transformers, of the shapeshifters. I don't know. But it's all fake and made up by Iskarol Pust, or they're being led to the wrong place. I don't know, bro. Is there anything else I kind of want to quickly talk about? I don't think I have the time. Okay, well, I think Deadhouse Gates is amazing. It got me to decide to read the rest of the series. And I've been shredding my way through Memories of Ice. I love this book. I love the characters in the book. I can't wait to see what happens. And I feel like I have so much more to say on all of these, but I would need time to kind of map out what I want to say. And definitely, if you somehow made it this far and haven't, read the books. Read Garden of the Moon. Just get through it. I think it's good. I think just getting through it makes it sound like, oh, it's miserable. But I think by comparison, I like Deadhouse Gates more. I'm definitely enjoying Memories of Ice, though no spoilies. I won't spoil anything. It's worth it. It feels worth it so far. I hope it continues to be worth it. Thank you so much for watching, if indeed you still are, and I hope you have a great day. Take it easy, but hey, take it.